Let's talk honestly about something that often goes unnoticed. When a woman begins to feel deeply, it rarely looks like a movie scene or a dramatic confession. More often, it shows up as quiet control, restraint, subtle shifts that are easy to miss unless you're paying attention. Her emotions don't rush outward, they turn inward, and that inward movement changes how she thinks, reacts, and protects herself. When her feelings start growing faster than she expected, her nervous system does something interesting. It begins to read you as both a place of comfort and a potential source of pain. Around you, she feels calm and understood. Yet the idea of losing that calm feels threatening. That inner tension reshapes her behavior. She becomes attentive without being needy, present without being overwhelming. There's a careful balance she's trying to maintain, often without even realizing it. You may notice that she remembers small details you barely recall mentioning. Things you said in passing, moods you were in weeks ago, moments that seemed insignificant to you. This isn't coincidence, it's alignment. On a subconscious level, her mind is tuning itself to yours. She adjusts her tone, her timing, even her posture when she's around you, not to impress you, but to stay connected without exposing how much she feels. Instead of chasing attention, she finds gentle ways to remain in your orbit. A message that feels casual, but arrives exactly when you need it. A check-in framed as curiosity rather than concern. She wants access to your inner world, but she wants it to feel natural, earned, mutual. Her connection grows quietly, without labels. Another thing that often happens is emotional containment. Even when she wants to open up completely, she doesn't. She shares in small pieces. A personal story here, a vulnerable thought there. Each time she watches how you respond, not to judge you, but to see if it's safe to fall a little further, if you listen without trying to fix her, if you stay grounded without pulling away. When you do, her attachment deepens silently. Pay attention to how she responds when you're not around, not with anger or accusations, but with subtle changes. She may become quieter, more reflective, more thoughtful. This isn't a loss of interest, it's emotional recalibration. Someone who doesn't care simply moves on. Someone who cares deeply goes inward, trying to regain balance over feelings she never planned to have. There's also a softness that appears only around you. Her voice may lower, her movements slow. Her guard relaxes just enough to reveal trust without fully surrendering it. This softness isn't weakness, it's exposure. She's letting you see a version of herself she protects from most people, and she only does that when her emotions are already invested. You might also notice that she begins to mirror your values, not your hobbies or habits, but the way you move through the world, how you treat others, what you tolerate, what you walk away from. When a woman is falling deeply, she doesn't just want closeness, she wants alignment. That alignment creates emotional gravity, and once it starts, it's difficult for her to stop feeling pulled. One of the most important shifts happens when she starts to feel calm around you. Not excited, not anxious, calm. That calm tells her nervous system that you represent consistency rather than chaos. And once she associates you with emotional regulation and peace, attraction stops being a choice and starts becoming a process, something her body and mind do together, quietly and continuously. At this stage, control becomes her main strategy. Not control over you, but over herself. She senses the emotional shift before you ever do. Instead of leaning forward, she may slow down. This is where many people get confused. They expect more pursuit, more obvious interest. But someone who is falling deeply often becomes careful, not careless. She understands the power of her emotions and doesn't want them to take over too quickly. You may see this in the way she pauses before responding, not because she's uninterested, but because she's choosing her words carefully. Once she says too much, she can't take it back. So she measures, she edits, she leaves space. That space isn't distance, it's self-protection. Another quiet signal shows up in how she reacts to your approval. Not validation, but approval. Attention is easy to get, respect is not. When your opinion starts to matter to her more than she admits, you'll feel it. If you acknowledge her character rather than her appearance, she holds on to that. If you challenge her gently, she reflects instead of resisting. Someone who doesn't care defends their ego. Someone who cares listens, because your perception now influences how she sees herself. You might also notice emotional inconsistency that feels confusing. One day she's warm and open, another day she's reserved and distant. This isn't a game, it's an internal tug of war. Part of her wants closeness. Another part is afraid of exposure. She's trying to find balance without losing her sense of self. Alongside this, there's often a quiet increase in emotional generosity. She gives more than she takes, but without making it obvious. She supports your ideas, encourages your growth, speaks well of you when you're not there. She invests emotionally long before she ever invests verbally. By the time she admits her feelings out loud, they've usually been there for a while. Jealousy, if it appears, looks different too. It's not dramatic or confrontational. It's curious. She asks questions that sound casual. She listens closely to your answers. She's not accusing, she's assessing. She wants clarity without revealing vulnerability. Her mind is collecting information so she can decide how safe it is to continue feeling what she feels. As her attachment grows, she may begin to show you her imperfections, not in a dramatic way, not as a release, just honest moments of realness, flaws shared without humor or masks. That's trust. She's showing you the parts she worries might make her less desirable, and she only does that when the emotional investment is already there. All of this happens quietly, beneath the surface. What looks like restraint is often depth. What looks like hesitation is often care. In the next part, we'll explore how this inward falling starts to reshape her future thinking, her sense of safety, and the way she begins to integrate you into her emotional world without ever saying a word. As her feelings continue to deepen, something subtle but powerful begins to shift in how she experiences the future. She may not talk about it. She may not even fully realize she's doing it. But her mind starts quietly placing you into scenarios that haven't happened yet. Not fantasies or daydreams, but practical considerations. How your lives might intersect, where you would fit, how decisions might feel if you were part of them. This is attachment forming, not romance. It's quiet, grounded, and deeply influential. You might notice that her choices begin to change slightly. She adjusts plans without explaining why. She becomes more thoughtful about timing. She considers your presence even when you're not there. This isn't obsession, it's integration. Her emotional world is slowly reorganizing itself around the connection she feels, and she's doing it carefully so she doesn't lose herself in the process. At the same time, her restraint remains. She doesn't rush intimacy, even if the chemistry is strong. In fact, she may slow things down deliberately. This isn't uncertainty, it's valuation. She's protecting something she sees potential in. When emotions start to matter, recklessness disappears. She wants what's forming to last, not burn out. You may also notice that her affection changes tone. It becomes less performative and more sincere, less about impressing you and more about being present with you. Her laughter softens. Her expressions feel more natural, less filtered. She's not curating an image anymore. She's offering presence. That shift happens when she wants to be accepted, not just desired. Another important sign is how she handles conflict or disagreement. Instead of reacting defensively, she seeks understanding. She asks questions instead of making assumptions. She chooses clarity over being right. This isn't just emotional maturity, it's investment. When feelings are involved, conflict feels riskier, so she protects the connection even before it's officially defined. You might also see a change in how she responds to your strength. Not dominance or control, but calm authority. When you remain steady under pressure, when you set boundaries without anger, when you lead without forcing, her nervous system responds. She may not show excitement on the surface, but internally, these moments anchor her. Stability doesn't always feel thrilling, but it creates the safety deep attachment needs to grow. Physical closeness shifts as well. Touch becomes more intentional, less playful, more grounding. A hand that lingers slightly longer, a brush of the shoulder that feels reassuring rather than teasing. She's no longer testing chemistry. She's reinforcing connection. This kind of touch emerges when curiosity has already turned into care. You may also notice that she begins protecting your image, not possessively but instinctively. She speaks well of you to others. She corrects misunderstandings. She doesn't exaggerate your flaws for humor. This is emotional loyalty forming before commitment. In her mind, you're becoming part of her identity, and she guards that quietly. There's often an internal conflict she doesn't express. She wants reassurance, but she doesn't want to ask for it. She wants closeness, but she doesn't want to cling. So she waits. She watches. She gives you space to step forward on your own. This isn't manipulation, it's vulnerability disguised as patience. She's hoping you choose her freely, without pressure. At this stage, she's no longer asking herself whether she likes you. She's asking whether she can trust you with her emotional world. Every interaction becomes information, not because she's judging you, but because she's deciding whether it's safe to let go. When she senses consistency, her fear softens. When she senses unpredictability, her restraint tightens. You may notice that she becomes more sensitive to emotional shifts. Small changes in your tone or energy don't go unnoticed. If you pull back slightly, she feels it. If you open up, she leans in. She may not comment directly, but her behavior adjusts. This isn't anxiety, it's attunement. Her nervous system is beginning to sync with yours. Instead of demanding clarity, she becomes more patient with uncertainty, not because she doesn't want answers, but because pushing too hard feels risky. She'd rather tolerate ambiguity than risk rejection. Someone who isn't emotionally invested insists on certainty. Someone who is falling deeply protects the connection by moving carefully. Her communication of affection becomes layered. Compliments turn into observations. Flirting turns into presence. She doesn't just tell you that you're attractive. She tells you how you make her feel. Calm, focused, grounded. These are emotional confessions wrapped in ordinary conversation, and they carry more weight than obvious praise ever could. You may also see her quietly testing consistency, not loyalty but reliability. She watches how you show up when you're tired, when you're busy, when there's nothing to gain. Attraction can survive inconsistency. Attachment cannot. She's not looking for perfection. She's looking for steadiness, someone who feels the same on loud days and quiet ones. Her boundaries also become more intentional. She won't cross certain lines too quickly, even if the pull is strong. She's protecting what's forming. When a woman is falling deeply, she slows down, not because she's unsure, but because she wants to honor the depth of what she feels. Gradually, she begins opening up about her inner world. Dreams, values, fears. Not all at once, but in careful layers. She's inviting you in without overwhelming you. This is her way of saying that this matters, and she's watching to see whether you treat it with care or take it lightly. You might also notice how she responds to your growth. She supports it even if it creates distance. She doesn't compete with your ambition. She aligns with it. She doesn't need to be the center of your life. She wants to be part of a life that's moving forward. This kind of attraction is rooted in respect, not dependency. What many people miss is that during this phase, she isn't trying to secure you. She's trying to trust herself. She's listening to her intuition. She's weighing the risk of opening up against the possibility of connection. Your role isn't to convince her. It's to remain steady enough that her fear quiets on its own. As that fear settles, her restraint begins to fade. Her warmth becomes more consistent. Her presence deepens. What she once guarded carefully, she starts offering more freely. Not because you demanded it, but because you created a space where she could finally feel safe letting go. In the final part, we'll explore how this attachment fully integrates into her identity, how her behavior shifts once trust is established, and how the quiet falling eventually becomes something undeniable, even without words. When trust finally settles in, the change is subtle but unmistakable. The tension she's been holding, the careful restraint, the quiet testing, all begin to soften. Not because she's become careless, but because she no longer feels the same need to protect herself from the depth of what she feels. Her emotions stop hiding and start integrating into who she is. This is when her presence becomes effortless. She's no longer monitoring every move or measuring every word. She simply shows up, consistently and genuinely. You may notice that her attention feels calmer now. Less searching, less checking, more grounded. She's not chasing reassurance or fishing for signals. She's present because being with you feels natural. Small details matter more to her. She remembers things you've forgotten. She notices shifts in your mood before you mention them. She adjusts herself instinctively, not out of obligation, but out of care. That care moves differently than attraction alone. It's steadier, quieter, and more enduring. Her vulnerability deepens as well. She begins sharing parts of her past that carry weight. Old fears, private disappointments, dreams she's never spoken out loud. She doesn't unload everything at once. She offers pieces, watching carefully to see how you handle them. Each share is a silent statement of trust. She's saying without words that what she's giving you matters to her. When you respond with patience and steadiness, her emotional walls continue to come down. Another shift happens in how she imagines her life. You may notice that she includes you in plans, even hypothetically. Shared experiences are mentioned casually. Routines begin to align. Habits subtly adjust. This isn't possessiveness, it's emotional integration. Her life starts to make room for you without force or announcement. You're no longer an addition, you're a consideration. Physical closeness also evolves. Touch becomes more intimate without becoming dramatic. Proximity feels natural, grounding. She positions herself near you without thinking about it. Her body mirrors your energy. This isn't flirtation anymore, it's resonance. Her nervous system recognizes yours as familiar, and that familiarity feels safe. You may also see how protective she becomes of the connection itself. Not in a jealous or controlling way, but in a respectful one. She values consistency. She notices whether your words match your actions, whether you show up the same way over time. At this stage, excitement matters less than reliability. Passion may have drawn her in, but emotional certainty is what allows her to stay. She becomes less reactive and more responsive. Instead of escalating misunderstandings, she seeks clarity. Instead of assuming, she asks, this isn't about avoiding conflict, it's about preserving connection. When feelings run deep, the bond matters more than winning an argument. She protects the relationship before it even has a name. You may notice that her affection feels different now, less performative, more real. She's not trying to impress you, she's trying to be seen and accepted as she is. Her laughter is softer, her expressions are less guarded. She's offering presence instead of presentation. That shift happens when desire gives way to trust. There's also a quiet courage that appears. She becomes more honest about what she wants and what she fears. She sets boundaries not to push you away, but to protect what's forming. She's no longer afraid that being real will cost her the connection. She's learned that authenticity is what strengthens it. At this point, she isn't asking whether she likes you or even whether she wants you. She's asking whether the connection can be held with care, whether it can grow without harm, whether the emotional space feels stable enough to rest in. When the answer feels like yes, her restraint dissolves almost completely. What many people misunderstand is that by the time she reaches this stage, her attachment is already woven into her identity. You affect her emotional state. Your presence steadies her. Your absence creates a quiet imbalance she may never articulate. She doesn't dramatize it. She adjusts. That adjustment is a sign of depth, not dependency. You'll also notice her empathy deepen. She doesn't just hear your words, she senses your feelings. Your joys lift her mood. Your frustrations linger with her. She carries emotional resonance with you, not because she's losing herself, but because she's attuned. Attunement is not obsession, it's connection that runs beneath the surface. Her communication becomes more meaningful. Compliments turn into understanding. She tells you how you make her feel emotionally, not just how you look or what you do. Calm, safe, focused. These are confessions in plain language. They reveal where her attachment has settled. She also continues watching consistency. Not perfection, consistency. How you act when no one's watching, when you're tired, when you're stressed, when there's nothing to gain. Emotional attachment depends on predictability. She's not looking for intensity anymore. She's looking for someone she can trust to feel the same tomorrow as today. By now, her life begins to subtly orbit around the connection, not in a way that shrinks her world, but in a way that includes you within it. Decisions are made with awareness of how they affect the bond. This isn't sacrifice, it's subconscious care. She's honoring something she feels, but may still struggle to name. The final stage of a woman falling deeply is quiet acceptance. She stops pretending her feelings are casual, not with a dramatic declaration, but with consistent presence. She's no longer guarding every emotion, she's allowing herself to be fully seen. That permission is one of the most intimate things she can offer. At this point, she's not trying to secure you or test you. She's trusting herself. She's trusting that what she feels is real and that it's safe to hold. And when she reaches that place, what began as quiet restraint transforms into steady warmth. What was once hidden becomes evident through consistency, care, and emotional availability. This is the part most people never notice because it doesn't announce itself. It shows up in how she listens, how she adjusts, how she stays. When a woman falls deeply, she doesn't lose control. She finds alignment. And when that alignment is met with steadiness and respect, her attachment doesn't just deepen, it becomes part of who she is.